What's the biggest disaster you've seen unfold in front of your own eyes? I was brushing my teeth getting ready for bed when I noticed my wheelchair-bound grandmother putting on her nicest sweater and styling her hair. Extremely interesting behavior. I decided to silently follow her into the living room, where I saw her hop on an online video call with an elderly gentleman named David. And when I heard them refer to each other as boyfriend and girlfriend, my heart fluttered with joy. You see, Grandma had been alone for almost 15 years after Grandpa left her. The accident that put her in the wheelchair happened when I was just a baby. She'd been helping at the church food drive when some shelving collapsed and crushed her spine. After 6 months of surgeries and physical therapy, the doctors told her she'd never walk again. Grandpa stuck around for maybe 3 months after. Then one morning, Grandma woke up to find his closet empty, and a note on the kitchen table saying he couldn't handle being married to someone who couldn't be a real wife anymore. Those were his actual words. He remarried within a year to her physical therapist. Since then, Grandma had thrown herself into being the perfect grandmother. She baked cookies and knitted scarves and never missed a soccer game, but she never dated. Mom tried setting her up a few times, but nobody wanted a woman in a wheelchair. Grandma would say that with a smile like it didn't crush her. So seeing her giggling on video chat with this David guy made me ridiculously happy. I crept back to my room and texted Mom immediately. She was thrilled too. Over the next few weeks, we all noticed the change in Grandma. She was humming while she cooked and wearing lipstick to grocery shopping. She even started doing chair exercises she found on YouTube because David had mentioned he liked active women. After about 2 months, Grandma finally told us about David. She was so nervous like we might judge her. She explained they'd met in an online support group and he'd lost his mother to a similar spinal injury. At first, we all hyped her up, but then about a month later, David mentioned his dream of starting a company that made homes more accessible for people with disabilities. That was the start of it all. He told Grandma he'd been trying to get this company off the ground for years, but banks weren't interested in funding it. Her eyes lit up when she talked to us about it. I remember the day she told us she was going to invest in David's company. She announced it so proudly, saying she'd be a 50% partner and consultant. We were all slightly on edge, and my dad asked a lot of questions. Grandma pulled out this whole folder of official-looking documents to answer them. There were architectural drawings and government contracts and even photos of an office space. I gotta say, it all looked incredibly legitimate, and we were all sold. Grandma's investment started small. At first, it was $2,000 for incorporation fees and the legal setup. Then she sent David $5,000 for the initial equipment. Grandma would show us pictures David sent her of the construction progress, workers installing wheelchair ramps and special bathroom fixtures. She was so excited to be part of it and would even cry from happiness talking about how great it would be when David finally moved here from Florida. They'd run the company together. But then 3 months into this business plan, cracks started showing. Grandma mentioned taking out a loan against her house for the next phase of funding. Mom got a little concerned and pressed her, but Grandma got defensive, saying we didn't understand business. She showed us proof that David had already secured 3 government contracts. My dad's an accountant, and even he admitted the numbers looked solid. I was still suspicious though, so I started spying on Grandma. I'd creep into the living room at night to check on her, and what I saw made me rethink everything. Whenever she called, David seemed so attentive and caring. He'd remember every little thing Grandma told him and ask follow-up questions about her doctor appointments or her garden. He even sent her flowers on their 6-month anniversary with a card saying she'd changed his life. I remember trying to convince my parents after that everything was okay, and they believed me. I was happy helping Grandma preserve her relationship, even if it seemed shady. But then my little brother needed to use Grandma's computer for a school project. That's when everything became crystal clear. He accidentally clicked on her email trying to get to Google and saw a message from the bank about a wire transfer for $200,000. He panicked and called me over. We scrolled through and found dozens of transfers over the past 8 months, totaling almost $500,000. She told us she had only invested slightly under $30,000. We confronted Grandma that night. At first, she was furious at us for invading her privacy. She insisted we didn't understand how business worked and that David needed capital for a major expansion. That this was why she hid this from us, because she knew we'd react like crazy. When we asked to speak to David directly, she got even more defensive, saying we were trying to ruin the only good thing in her life. We of course told our mom, and she hired a private investigator ASAP. Within weeks, the truth was out. David's business registration was fake. The office photos were from a real estate listing in Ohio. The government contracts were photoshopped. Even David's profile picture was stolen from some retired dentist's Facebook page. The video calls had been some guy in his late 20s using a really realistic AI filter to make himself look old. When we found out, our hearts broke. We knew we had to tell Grandma, but we also knew that in doing so, we would be actively ruining the best thing in her life. Full story on channel, linked below.